some of this group too. But she made great, or steaks. She had a special rub she put on the steaks, but like Lottie burgers, steaks, he would eat omelets and things like that, you know, southern food. Crowder, what is it, Crowder peas? I don't think I'd ever had a Crowder pea, I didn't know what it was.
I love Crowder peas. I'm
But
a Southern boy, though.
things like that, bacon, omelets, yeah.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know if I touched on this earlier, because I thought this started at 8. When Baz Luhrmann did this movie that just came out years ago, did he interview you at all? Because I know
No.
he did a lot of interviews with Priscilla and Lisa Marie.
No,
Because there was a
I-
lot of things in the end, I'm like, I don't think that's exactly right.
They
I
don't
thought,
do that, there's a
if
one-sided.
you were with him,
Yeah,
did he interview you
Mhm.
at all? Nothing.
no. The only time I was ever asked to be Joe Esposito, you know, these guys, the people have been doing this stuff for years. His ex-wife, you know, the producers of the shows and stuff, and they want it to be a certain way they want. So a lot of people and things are excluded out of that. It's kind of a rewritten history, which is unfair. But years ago, my mother was approached. I think it was Jerry Schilling was doing. I want to say Mort Saul was the director of the This Is Elvis show. They wanted. I couldn't believe it. They wanted me to recreate Finding Elvis, and I said no. I mean, but Joe Esposito. I mean, I was just stunned by that. So anyway.
So in that movie, Johnny Hara played Elvis,
Yeah.
and they had an actress play Ginger, but they actually asked Ginger to actually play herself during that, probably the worst part of her life.
I know.
You know, and it didn't happen
I know.
that way, but they asked.
Do you still have family in Memphis?
No, I have friends. One friend over here? No, I have one friend. No, no, I have, no, I still have some friends there, but my family, we had all moved. I moved to New York and lived in New York for a long time, and I was married for a long time. My husband unfortunately passed away about 10 years. This August 16th, same day.
Yeah.
I said, God's playing with me.
Wow. Is your mom still alive?
My mom
Yes.
is, yeah, my
Is she
mom,
100?
I help take care of her now, so that's what I do a lot. Yeah, she'll be 104
Oh my goodness.
in
I knew she
November.
was
Let's keep our
alive.
fingers crossed,
Yeah,
yeah.
I saw that.
She's still with us, so it's kind of a roller coaster, it's been tough, but
So you're still close with your sisters? And
yeah, oh yeah,
That's
yeah.
nice.
Yeah, my one sister lives in Missouri, I'm back in Tennessee now. When my husband passed away, I moved back. I have another sister in Tennessee, my brother's in Mississippi, so
That's so-
yeah.
that's-
Yes, sir.
Yeah, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, do you have memories of, was the manager Colonel Parker still around when you were there, or?
Yeah, I met Colonel Parker on a tour once. It seemed like I remember he had a big chef hat on. He was stirring a pot of soup and you know, and Elvis. I always felt like their relationship was pretty much business. I would give them privacy and come back in if he came over and he needed to talk to Elvis. But Elvis would he wasn't happy with them a lot of time because the Colonel, he was a large man. He was always wanting to eat, but he would pick venues or the hotels were very far from the venue where Elvis was performing because it had a restaurant close by that he could go eat at. And so Elvis would get a little miffed at that, and there were different things that happened at times. I didn't know him well. When Elvis took me to Palm Springs, I was there for his birthday, and I saw the Colonel's wife was ill at the time, and Elvis asked me if I wanted to go, and we went over to his house, and I didn't see the wife at the time. Elvis went in the back room and visited with her, which was nice for Elvis to do. But I remember the Colonel had a lot of elephants in the yard, like statues of elephants, not real elephants. But he had a lot of statues, and I remember saying, "Why do you have so many statues?" And he said he loved elephants. He goes, "An elephant never forgets." And he goes, "I want Elvis to buy me a ring with an elephant on it." It was interesting, but I didn't know him well.
When you asked the question about the Baz Luhrmann fictional movie, there's a,
I know.
listen, I'm being
I've
nice.
heard there are a lot of
I'm being really nice.
I haven't seen it. I I didn't see it.
Oh, okay.
I don't see
So
it.
the Baz Luhrmann fictional movie, there's a scene in there where Elvis fires the Colonel from the stage. Never happened.
Yeah.
There's a lot of.
I've heard.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, I
I've heard a
mean,
lot of stuff. Yeah, it wasn't true.
no, so I mean,
But
you
was he
gotta,
as controlling as is portrayed over?
say again?
Is he,
Was the
was
Colonel as
Colonel,
control?
was he as controlling as he's been portrayed over the years? Like
I think
Elvis
early
not
in the
being able
career,
to
he
leave
earned the
States?
respect of mom and dad, Miss Gladys and Vernon, and they put a lot of faith in the Colonel. And, you know, I've run into this in business before. The Colonel was the best thing that ever happened for Elvis Presley, and the worst. And we probably all know those people in our life where they are your best asset and your worst liability. And that was the case with,
Yeah.
with the Colonel.
Because, so he wasn't able to leave the States because of, I mean, he only toured in the States. I know he came to Canada like
Right.
50 once.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the Colonel's background, he was a carny. And
Yeah,
if you ever
yeah.
get around the carnival people,
Yeah.
none of them have IDs, so there you go. You know, he probably, I don't even know if he ever had a real driver's license, to be honest with you.
Okay, so that's, sorry, just my last, would he have was it his, would he have wanted to, like, leave the States had it not been for?
Oh, Elvis mentioned to me.
Like,
I mean,
go to Europe
He
and-
did. He wanted to. I think he
Yeah.
mentioned Japan one time.
Yeah.
He mentioned, yeah, going to Europe, performing. And I remember he said about the United Kingdom, he said, I'd have to sing from a cage. He was just joking, but it was,
Yeah.
and I knew, and I didn't know any of this stuff. I mean, Elvis passes away and all these books, different things started coming out about Colonel Parker. And I was like, I didn't know he was a gambler, right?
Right,
All
big
these
gambler.
things, I had no
Oh,
idea.
yeah.
I had no idea.
So a
As I
lot
s-
of, go ahead. Well, about the gambling, he sold Elvis's catalog up till 1973 of all his music, which the Colonel, the good part of the Colonel was if if Elvis recorded your song, he got a co-write credit under Gladys Publishing, okay? That's your money, that's your pension plan in the music business. That means whether you're singing that song on stage or not, every time it's played on the radio, you're getting paid, okay? The bad part is he ran up a gambling debt and he dumped that catalog, that publishing catalog, which eventually was owned by Michael Jackson, who at the same time owned the Beatles catalog, okay, for I'll say chump change, let's say $3-4 million. 50-50 split with Elvis so he could pay off his gambling debt. That catalog today's worth $500 million, you know, so yes, he was very smart in getting the publishing done so Elvis could get royalties, but at the very end, he dumped it for his own financial payoff, so. Did somebody else over? Yes, sir.
I speak a little bit English, speak French. How many shows to see you?
How many shows did I see?
Yeah, how many shows?
Wow, Norm. Norm's kind of a historian here.
Well,
He may know that number.
I don't know
I only
the
missed. Is that me?
That's Elvis.
Something's going on. I
60?
how many?
60? No?
16?
Oh, more
Oh, there were more than that.
60.
6-0.
Oh, 60. How many did he do?
Probably
the
close
last-
to that number. She only missed 4 shows.
I only missed 4, so however many shows he did the last 9 months. So you take 4 away. It was a lot. And he did, he did do a lot of shows.
What is your favorite song of Elvis and why?
I mean, it's hard when you pick, because Elvis had such a beautiful voice. We all love, I mean, I don't think anybody sings gospel the way Elvis does. But I loved, there was one called Trying to Get to You. And when I listened to the words, I thought it was kind of there were many miles between us, which for me was kind of like our age, but it didn't mean a thing, you know. So I love that. And he would sing that, dedicate that. He dedicated that to his dad. He said his dad liked it. He dedicated that to me during shows, and it was really sweet. But I like that song. I like so many of them, but that was one up there.
Right here in the front.
Have you ever told your son about Elvis when he was younger?
Yeah, I kind of, in the beginning of my book, it's trying to tell my son, well, what was it, first grade, something like that. It's like my son gets off the school bus, and that day he had on, they used to have these big sunglasses you could wear, like fake little fun sunglasses. And my son comes in and he goes, the kids on the bus were calling me Elvis, just because he had the glasses on. And he goes, who's Elvis? And I didn't really say, I think, at the time I said, well, he was a famous entertainer and he brought people a lot of joy and all that. But as time went on, as I said, it amazed me how many young kids were aware of who Elvis was? A young, third grade, fourth grade. And, there was a time that came and I tried to explain to him, my relationship with him. But I never wanted, when I married, I didn't want my husband to ever feel second best or anything like that. And I respected that. And I didn't talk, my husband saw a lot of my hurt and frustration because I'd moved on with my life and I worked for a long time and I quit work to raise my son. And, but I remember my husband was, he would see me be upset. I'd hear bits and pieces of things and it was tough. And my husband, God bless him, he was the one, he said, just write your book. And he was supportive of that. And God bless him for that, so.
And I have to say that Elvis will be proud.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
So I will say this, because Ginger never mentions it, but every time before we go on one of these little tours, like England or wherever, she obviously is texting her son because she loves Hunter, and he always texts back, "Mom, you're a rock star."
Yeah, we've had some talks about it. There were some things he didn't understand. I had to have a long talk with him, but I sent him the actual, the brochure for this tonight. I sent him that, and he goes, "Go get him, Mom," or "Go get him, girl." That was sweet. No, he understands.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Yes.
So you were with Elvis when that infamous book was written from his bodyguards. And there's so much talk about the fact that he was so devastated and upset by that. And a lot of people say that ended up bringing him to an early grave because of how upset he was. What was your...
I mean, I didn't see that, and I was with him every day. And I remember, and I wrote about this, it was long in the summertime. I didn't know who these bodyguards were, I didn't know who these people were. And he brought up about having to, I knew early on he had brought in Ed Parker, his karate, he loved Ed Parker, to help out with bodyguarding and things because he had just recently, he said they were getting in trouble a lot and they had to be fired. So that's what he told me early on. Yeah, I just remember one night he started telling me, he opened up and he said, he said what hurt him, and I had no idea what this book was. I still haven't read it, I'm not gonna read it. But he just was pretty much explaining to me that, it was hurt. He said what hurt him, he goes, it's not the content. He goes, it's not true. He goes, it's the fact that they return and do that. He said, I put their kids through school and, he paid for home. He did a lot of stuff for them. And he said that's what hurt him. But after listening to him a little bit, he didn't dwell on it, but I remember thinking, I think he's come to a place in his mind that he's accepted that. And I remember him saying, my true fans will stand behind me. So obviously, it was on his mind, but it wasn't like some people are like, oh, he was just so depressed and this. I didn't see that. As I said, he was at my home 10 days before he passed away, having a good time.
Off too long.
And he said he'd been off too long, and he was looking forward. He had to go out there and face that. But I had no idea at the time. I didn't know what the book said or anything, So.
Excuse my I speak French, my English. You have some contact with Larry Geller, again with Jerry Schilling.
I never really knew Jerry. Jerry wasn't around when
He lived in California.
Jerry lived in California, and I met Jerry in the very beginning.
Okay.
It was very nice. And then he wasn't around. I was
No,
the
he lived in
manager.
California. Matter of fact, Elvis bought him the house that he lives in still to this
Yeah.
day. The house that Elvis bought Jerry never sold, so he's still living in that house. But in 77, to your point,
Okay.
remember, I think earlier we had talked about a lot of the people that had been around in earlier part of the years, they kind of drifted away and they would come back, when it was time to go to work. Schilling was one because he had other jobs and
Yeah.
other things,
Yeah.
people that he managed out in
A
California.
few minutes you talk about spiritualities with this book and Larry Geller.
Larry brought a lot of books. But I haven't taught, I actually saw Larry, we did the
Last
show in
year.
Memphis, was it just last year? And I was walking, we were at the Sheraton Peabody Hotel, and Norm was with us, and we were walking through, and I believe you told me,
Yeah, I said
you said
Larry.
Larry Geller's sitting over here. I hadn't seen Larry since Elvis passed. So I decided, I went over, and I never got a chance to get real close with Larry and all that, he was always friendly. So we got our picture taken, and I said hi to him, and that was it. But other than that, because I think he lives in New Mexico or something, or Arizona maybe.
Yeah, if you research Geller, Geller worked for Jay Sebring out in California,
Oh, yeah.
a hairstylist. And if you remember Charles Manson, Jay Sebring was one of his victims. But Larry's had a tough go of it sometimes with the cronies too, because, especially with the Colonel, because Larry was bringing in the spiritual books. And you know, that kind of occupied Elvis's time.
Yeah.
Burned it.
And and some of the guys didn't like it. Matter of fact, I think the Colonel at one point said, you know, basically, get these books out of here. But at the end of the day, Elvis enjoyed the reading, so they stayed.
Yeah.
Couple more questions?
Was it true you wanted to do the racquetball, the chain, when you passed, or you wanted to go?
What was it,
a chain-
what?
A chain of racquetball courts, was that true?
Wasn't that
So
Dr.
that was
Nicopolis?
Nicopolis and
Joe
Esposito, and there was
That
some
cost
money
Elvis money.
exchanged. And they wanted Elvis, you know, it's like anything else. If you go to Nashville, you go to Jason Aldean's bar, okay? He doesn't own it. His name is licensed.
Right.
So that racquetball deal was a licensing agreement to where they would use Elvis's name, do the racquetball, and that was Nicopolis and Esposito. And I don't know the finite details of the money, but it went south. So, you know, if Elvis were alive today, they'd probably approach him with pickleball, you know, same kind of concept. But he signed up for it on that deal. So, but it was a
He lost
license.
money on that.
Yeah,
didn't he?
yeah,
That
it
was
was
the
a
lawsuit.
But it was a licensing agreement where it wasn't like Elvis was going to go out and open up racquetballs. They were going to do that using his name, his moniker under a licensing agreement. And that's done today with a lot of celebrities where they'll
Like
lend
Kenny
their
Rogers
name.
Chicken was the
Yeah,
same.
they'll take, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
10% or 15% lend. All the bars in Nashville, down, if you ever been to Nashville, and you say, okay, Jason Aldean's or Blake Shelton, they don't own those. They're lending their name and image to those. Name, image, and likeness. Okay. One more question, and then we're gonna.
Do you think he would be surprised after all these years of how much people still love him? Like, as an example, my 14-year-old daughter, she's obsessed.
I think it's so fantastic. It always brings a tear to my eye when I do some of these shows, the fact that you guys are here and that you care so much about him, because he was a great person. Little yeah, we were in the UK, there was a little boy in a really beautiful peacock suit that was special made for him, and he came out and sang, he was so cute. But, now Elvis would be so humbled by the support, but it's a testimony to you know, just, you know, try to overlook a lot of the garbage out there, because he didn't deserve it by any means, and, you know, he was just a very good person. He was human, he had some problems, and, you know, you try to deal with it, but we wouldn't be sitting here today if we didn't love him, so, you know, but, you know.
So for those that came in